organizing has a bill in to address racial profiling. And you may know that racial profiling is already illegal. It is not something that people should be doing. It is illegal to do. But they have a bill in that would prohibit racial profiling. It would require collecting data statewide and having that data submitted to the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission each legislative session. If the data reached a certain threshold for any individual agency, it directs the Attorney General to conduct an independent investigation to determine why those numbers are out of whack with the norm. The bill also, for the first time, would add homeless status. It would add manners of dress. It would add, I think those are the two big ones, but it's adding category, because what we know is that if somebody appears to be transient, they're much more likely to be targeted by police than if they don't. What we know with youth is that, you know, the way they dress, if they have their pants sagging, or if they have on a certain collar, or if they have a hoodie on, they could be targeted by the police. And so the goal is to expand the law so that it would cover those additional categories.
Stop data.
And the stop data. What about the stop data? Oh, so the stop data will be collected from police agencies around the state. The stop data is either traffic or pedestrian stop data. So stop data could be if you're walking, riding a bicycle is the pedestrian data, and then the other is when you're driving. So pedestrian and driving. Did I answer your question, sir?
In the city of Portland, if you're a person of color, you're twice as likely to be stopped. They say they don't know what race you are when you're in your car.
Right.
A person of color is twice as likely to be searched once they're stopped. And then, what's the likelihood that they're carrying drugs, paraphernalia, or have outstanding warrants?
Less than half.
Compared to, yes.
Yeah. Half is likely to have, right.
Contribute to stop.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
But
But what's egregious is because of the walk and talk and the mere conversation, the numbers don't look as horrendously bad as they are, right? So you look at it and you think, this is outrageous, right? 2 times as likely, that's outrageous. But if they recorded every single person they actually stopped and searched and talked to, the numbers would be through the roof. Yes, ma'am.
I'm curious. Sorry.
No,
Okay.
you're fine.
I'm curious. I was a student at Southern Oregon University a few years ago and worked with student government in working to influence the Ashland City Council on changing some of their taser policy, partly in response to a student being tased and actually dying a few years earlier. And I remember feeling like very much lost in terms of resources and organizations that we could connect with who were thinking about like a more statewide realm of providing direct support to groups that wanted to address this on a more local level. So I'm happy to hear about like the statewide legislation and whatnot that's up this session, but I'm also curious if you have recommendations on good resources for folks even outside of the Portland metro area who are working to address this in their own cities.
It's a really good question. I know that I know in Eugene there was a group that was working on, because they were having some very specific issues around police. But I don't know of any other group that's specifically working on police reform issues. I know that Partnership for Safety and Justice is really focused on the jails, and so I don't know.
Okay.
I'd like to also think for the groups that are actually doing this kind of work, you named Partnership for Safety and Justice. A lot of groups mobilizing, the AMA, people who do not believe that justice is served when you're unjust, that there might be ways to link or provide you with information about who you might check with. There's always the possibility and the opportunity for them to look at this and look statewide when you're talking about legislature. That might be beneficial. The idea that students would be paying attention and looking out for the lives of other students and communities is really wonderful to hear.
And I think UNITE is in Southern Oregon.
Yes, Medford.
And they were doing some work around police accountability because they had the same kind of situation where a Latino gentleman was shot and killed by the police, and So UNITE is one of the organizations that I know that was looking.
And Eugene, it was the NAACP.
That's right.
Yes,
They've
yes,
been
that's right.
funded by
That's
MRG.
right. That's right. And MRG, that's right.
I was going to say the lady right back there. I can see that hand waving.
Oh,
Yes.
we can't see the face. Oh, hey, Cindy, how you
Hey
doing?
there.
I just wanted to see if you're aware of how much through this whole mental illness scare that they have put out. There's a new bill coming up in Oregon that will endow the police with the rights to stop people that they think may be endangering themselves and take them to the hospital. And the Obama health care bill will give them a lot of incentive to do that, because all of these people who are not insured now become cash cows, $580 a day to get locked up into the hospital. That's why they don't take homeless people a lot to the hospital. But now that they'll be covered, the homeless youth, it's a whole new.
Do you have a bill number?
Huh?
Any idea about what the bill number is?
I can send it to you.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Let's take one or two more questions.
I see a hand back here. I can't
Yes.
see the face.
I just wanted to share that I work with Native American women and men in prison, and we look at the racial profiling because we know that we have a larger population than what's being recorded. And so anytime I get a letter or a phone call from somebody, I look them up on the Oregon offender site, and 1 out of 3 are classified as a different race. We have full-blooded Native American people, like with the last name of Pretty Bird, that are down as white. And so you don't get an accurate picture. And for years I'm like, why are they doing this? Why aren't we being counted? Well, it took me a while to realize the reason they do it is they don't want to show that disparity. Because if they had those huge disparity numbers, they'd have to do something about it.
Well, even when they have the huge numbers, they don't have to do anything about it. Just not talking about it, right? But thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. That's absolutely true. And you know, that's also true with the Hispanic community, right? Because you may know in the census form, Hispanic and Latino is not a racial category. And so it makes you wonder just how often people check white. Because and you know, because you get to say, yeah, I have Hispanic, I have Hispanic heritage, but you say that's somewhere else, right? But the race categories, it's white, black, Asian, Native American, and other, right? And so it makes you really question any census count that ever comes up. One more question.
What's going to be that last golden question?
Are you seeing support from the mental health community around racial profiling?
You know, thank you for asking that question. Yes, we have. We worked very closely with the Mental Health Association of Oregon, with the Commission on Disability Rights. So the coalition works very closely with those organizations. And Jason has given us a lot of information to take into the mediation process to inform how we represent the mental health community in those talks. So yes, we've been very connected in this process.
I think something that might be of interest for you to even track and whether they're engaged with you. But Cascadia, which is Oregon's largest mental health behavioral health provider from here all the way down to Springfield, they have been for the last several years engaged in a major effort where the Portland police are sitting with them to construct this ride-along, if you will, having professionals with knowledge, skill, and ability to interpret a situation, but the police officers get to call the shot first. And sometimes that might be what it is, but they get to decide if that professional who's trained, and it's out of the Babylon Center, which is a major center that actually represents and brings laws, brings cases and does law for mental health, advocacy for mental health. They're out of the East, and Portland is one of like 5 cities that were selected, the last one selected because of the significant trauma and issues. So we really need to kind of track these opportunities so they don't get co-opted, if you will, by the police, and there's a lot of money often attached
Well,
to it.
so let me give you a fact that most people in the room may not know. You may not know that the city of Portland puts $700,000 into our mental health system every year. And what they get for that $700,000 is access to beds for people who need to be, who need in-treatment mental health care. You may be surprised to know that over the last 5 years, Portland police officers have used it about 22 times. Right? Now, if you go through this mental health process and you are there for, you're there normally for at least 2 weeks, they say 2 to 4 weeks people are there. When they come out, they have a long-term plan. They have medication, they have appointments, they have housing, they have wraparound service to support them coming back into the community. And so if we're already spending $700,000 in order to give the police access to this mental health system, you have to ask the question, why would, and they're not using it. And the reason they say that they're not using it is because they can't just slow down and toss somebody out. They actually have to go in and do paperwork. And the paperwork is inconvenient for them. And so they'd much rather take somebody to jail or do something else than take them to the place that they have a special phone number and special beds just for them. Cindy's back there. She wants another question.
It's not a question. I can tell you why they don't use that. Because I advocate for people who are in the system. And it is a tremendous, I call it human trafficking, because it's much more financially beneficial to put someone incompetent to stand trial, send them up to the hospital, they're there for 90, 180 days, they sent back to the jail because they're not incompetent. I'm right now trying to get 3 young African Americans out in Washington a year. One for a fight on $8, one DNA knows they didn't do it. He's been there a year. 21-year-old has been there 2 years, back and forth between the jail. $580 a day, plus drug charge, plus doctor charge. That's why they don't put them in the 2-week place, because they can do slavery inside. You don't pick cotton, you take pills instead.
Exactly. And so I just want to thank you all for coming. Like I said at the beginning, there was a lot going on tonight, and you could have been many other places, but I appreciate your interest in this topic. I want you to know there is something that every single one of you can do, which is to stop, observe, and record when you see the police interacting with someone in the community. And most of the time, it might be okay, but you just might have the picture that tells the story that needs to be told. Because unfortunately, what tends to happen is that person can't tell the story anymore. Right. Because guess what? They're dead. They're gone. They can't tell the story. And so, as a community, we have to be the eyes and ears of our community members and make sure that they're not being abused by people who are sworn to protect and serve them. So thank you.
So thank God for all. Rather than leave here so very disappointed, distraught, disturbed, depressed, all of those which are behavioral health indicators, the idea that TriMet's buses say, see something, say something. So I have appropriated that for anything and everything. But how do we see and say and stay safe ourselves to fight another day as justice advocates? And I'd like to think that this kind of opportunity is really fabulous to see you in the room. I'd like to think that this kind of opportunity to surface the questions, to be able to talk about what's really pressing, to record the kind of opportunities to do something, to create just, safe, thriving, zestful communities. That's what MRG has been about for 36 years. I like to say, lately, we're the banker of social justice in Oregon. We've got good policy. We don't have interest rates that are exorbitant, and we're about long-term change in Oregon. So I'd like to ask you, if you thought this was a wonderful justice social, let me hear you say so.
Yeah.
And I just have to ask, because we're being recorded, recorded, and I didn't realize that earlier. Just wanted to make sure when we're talking about see something and say something that you're all okay, and the recording is going to be for or go to or.
That's up to you guys. If I have somebody who doesn't want to go somewhere, then yeah, I forgot to ask. I'm sorry.
So is it going to appear in alternate? I know it's not going to the Oregonian.
No. I was just planning on putting it on my YouTube channel, but I can give you guys the footage or whatever you would like.
Would you allow us to have it?
Of
also?
course,
That would be
of course.
If you would just check with Cheryl and Kyle. Wave your hand.
Okay.
I love MRG staff to wave their hands so they get an opportunity. Edith's here, Anita's here, Cheryl's here, Kyle's here, I'm here. And since you are here, these are the kind of opportunities that we have to bring people together about justice, to spread justice, and to expand the possibility of that joyful Oregon that every one of us can benefit in. How you can do that with us also, we are a fundraising foundation. We get it in, we get it out. So if you have the opportunity, reach in your pocket, write a check. It would be nice if you think a donation is appropriate tonight. You can trust that we will use it for good energy to keep on funding here in Oregon. Another way you can be supportive of us, folks are passing around the envelopes, is that you can make sure you have the flyer about Justice Within Reach. It is the annual fundraising celebration of our grantees of the success in moving the envelope farther forward for justice in Oregon. Tickets are sliding $35 to $75 for one of the best, hottest parties around. Why is it hot? Because justice is cool. All right? So I hope to see you there. Tell us you want to come. Sit you at a table. You can do a table. Gather together some of your friends, put on your dancing shoes, April 20th at Castaway in Northwest Portland. Love to talk to you about it. Love to talk about another justice social. If you have an idea, if you have a topic, write us. Cheryl at mrgfoundation.org, or Sharon or Anita, it's all mrgfoundation.org, or Edith, Kyle, and let us know your idea. Something you'd like to talk about, and then talk and tell all your friends why they should turn out with you. Thanks very much. Another hand for Jo Ann Hardesty. Another hand for my friend for a wonderful day and for yourself. There might be a little bit more to eat up. Talk among yourselves. Thanks.